care about you.
Who can even be a bridge to get us to the other side? But I think when we get to the other side, it'll be the other side of realness.
I think Joe Biden has a chance to be LBJ.
Next LBJ.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Alive, real. I don't believe you can be a Democrat and be a Christian at the same time. I don't believe it.
That's why you better be independent. You can't be a Republican and a Christian at the same time either. Just ask the evangelicals.
What up, everybody? It is Friday, so you know what time it is. It is TFG tonight. I am your host, Lamar, and it's a pretty exciting night ahead of us. I can't wait. As you know, I'm all dressed up in my nice little jacket and things I got from the Half and Half store a few years ago. Still looking good, right? It still look okay, right? Yeah, anyway, I'm interviewing somebody tonight. I don't do a whole lot of interviews, but when I do it, it's important, okay? This person, she's running for Texas State Congress seat, District 100, and I think it's election time, right? So this is a perfect time for her to come on, talk to us a little bit about what she's doing in the community, her campaign. You know, you might want to vote for her. I've heard her talk before. She has my vote already. I'm gonna say I'm a little biased already. She has my vote. So when she comes on in just a minute, we'll be interviewing her and talking more about her campaign. But I do want to talk to y'all real quick, just a little bit about Monday. For those that watch Monday, it was kind of a circus on TFG tonight. You know, we talked about a lot, and the main thing we talked about was the Rush Limbaugh interview with the Breakfast Club. And things got a little wild. It got a little crazy. We had some shouting, some screaming, no crying, nothing thrown. But I think if we were all in the same place, things definitely would have gotten thrown. But nothing was thrown. So we're going to talk about that again tonight. But we're not only going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some other injustices that are happening throughout the world. We're going to talk about COVID. I don't know about y'all, but I just got, tell me in the comments if you did, I just got an alert. People in Texas saying that it's a state of emergency or something like that. Wear your mask on my phone. Did you guys get that? Let me know if you got that. I'm waiting for my guest to come into the back room, so I'm gonna fill a little time until she comes. I want me to tell y'all a story. There were 3 bears. I'm just kidding. In the meantime, let me go ahead and bring Ricky on real quick. And me and Ricky are gonna talk just a little bit until our guest gets here. And then we have a whole slew of other guests. Look at Ricky. Who else? Let's bring Marcus on. But hey, what's going on, bro? How's it going?
What's up? What's going on, Lamar, man? Appreciate you having me on once again. You know, whenever you hit me up, I'm ready.
You know what? And you know, I appreciate it. I can hit Marcus the last minute and say, hey, bro, you want to come on this show and talk about ABCD? He'd be like, absolutely. Yeah, bring me on. So I appreciate your willingness to come on. So yeah, tonight is going to be a good night. We have lots of people that wanted to come on tonight to discuss these topics, particularly the Limbaugh Breakfast Club thing. And that whole time, we're not going to get in it too much just yet, but just to let the people that were not here last week know what it was about. It was more so whether or not we need or want white support as it relates to our movement, if you will. Okay. Some people feel like we don't need it, or we don't need to give them a thumbs up when they do help. But we're going to talk about that more in depth. I think it's time. I'm going to go ahead and get my guest on, and we're going to go and get this show started and get it on the road. All right. Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm excellent. I am Lamar, and you are Miss Jasmine Crockett. Is that right?
I am.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad you decided to come on today. Thank you for accepting my invitation.
Absolutely. Sorry about the struggle, but
it's all right. It's okay. I just want to start out. This is more just conversational. I just want to talk to you a little bit. And, you know, we don't get a lot of opportunity to talk to politicians up close and personal and ask real questions, right? So I want to take that opportunity now. And I always want to give my disclosure. Most of my audience, I would venture to say that they are Democrats.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you've seen our show, but it gets a little crazy. So when after our interview is over, definitely stay on. I mean, definitely watch if you haven't watched the show. There's a whole lot of craziness going to go on once you leave. Now you reach out to the producer if you want to get involved with it, but it's crazy. Most of my audience, I would venture to say, are Democrats. I'm independent, moderate, whatever you want to call it. I feel like I take the best from both sides, right? I don't subscribe to either one specifically. That's just my preference. But I want to know a little bit more about you. Who are you? Tell us about you. Who are you? What are you doing?
So I am a tired, alleged politician.
Alleged politician?
I'm an alleged politician, an alleged politician. That word has taken on such a negative connotation over the years. And I don't really like to think of myself as that. I have been a public servant for I don't know how many years. It's just kind of who I am. And so I am attorney Jasmine Crockett, born and raised in St. Louis. Let me get that out the way because people be like, Dallas. I'm like, no, I'm from the Show Me State. So no, I was born and raised in St. Louis. I graduated from high school, went on to pursue my undergraduate degree in Memphis, Tennessee, in North Memphis. And then after graduating undergrad with a business degree, I went on to law school. So I received a full ride with a stipend to go to law school. So I went to law school down in Houston.
Okay.
I started at TSU, and then I transferred and graduated from the University of Houston.
HBCU?
Absolutely. And so for the last 14 years, I've been practicing law. I primarily handle criminal defense cases, civil rights cases, and car accidents.
Okay, we can get your information. We have a few people might need some help.
I hope you never need me on the criminal side. It's just not where you want to need me.
Right.
And so, but I got tired. And I'm like, we're fighting so hard every single case, like one case at a time. This seems like the hard way of doing things, right? You know how they always say, like, work smarter, not harder?
Right.
So I was like, oh, I could just change the laws. Like one day I was like, oh, never mind. I'll just change the laws because they don't really work for me, nor my clients, right? And so I decided to run for state rep in House District 100.
Okay.
Which is the seat that was vacated by our now mayor of Dallas. And so it encompasses South Dallas, East Dallas, going all the way until you get to the first part of Mesquite, and then a small part of West Dallas.
Okay.
And so that's kind of who I am in a nutshell, but I'm always willing to answer more questions.
Okay. All right. So what is it? What's your cause that you're going to be tackling when you get to Austin? I'm just going to go ahead and speak it. You're going to get in there, right?
God has been by our side this entire campaign because there's a lot of little devils running around. No, so the things that are going to drive me are the things that drove me to run. What most people don't realize is that this job only pays $7,200 a year.
$7,200 a year to go to Austin and be a congresswoman, if you will.
So when I'm talking about, so when people talk about, oh, there's a systemic issue, right?
Yeah.
What you mean? This is what we mean, right? Like the average person cannot go down to Austin for $7,200 a year.
Right.
Right. Like, so we only go down once every 2 years. And when we go down for 6 months. And so basically you like for 6 months. So you're making like a little over $1,000 a month for like the time that you're down there. But the average person can't say, hey, job, just hold my spot. I'll be back. And while I'm gone, I'm going to be down in Austin, but I'm going to go ahead and hold down the fort in, Dallas. And like that's not realistic.
So the work you're doing is the local work in your local office. So you're still working when you're not in Austin, right?
So I will be working all the time, even in Austin. So luckily I practice law in the state of Texas, which means that I can work from wherever. So I won't be doing as much criminal though, because criminal law requires you to be really, really present. We actually have a legislative pass for lawyers. So if you are a lawyer that actually works at the legislature, of course they wrote in a pass for themselves. Makes sense, right? And so basically any of my civil cases, there's nothing that a judge can do as it relates to like that case. Like it just gets passed. I won't be doing that because on criminal cases, because somebody's 9 times out of 10 sitting in jail. So like that's not really a good look. So I'll just be focusing more on car accidents more than anything and doing what we call ad litem work. So like when a child is in a car accident, then I'm the one that kind of becomes the child's lawyer and oversee that. But I can do that anywhere. And who knows how long COVID is going to be an issue. So I'm just going to kind of transition my practice and do things a little differently.
So as far as congressional work, though, when you're not in Austin at 6 months, you're still doing congressional work here locally in Dallas, though? Yeah.
So what happens kind of in what I would call the off season is the plan is to have an office. But not only do they only pay you $7,200, in order for you to have an office in the district, you got to pay for that yourself, too. So you got to actually use your campaign funds. So once I'm done with this race, I still have to raise money so that I can pay for those things that we need in the district. It is literally the worst job ever. But it's needed. We don't have authentic voices in Austin that are raising our issues.
I agree with that.
So often. So when we're talking about those issues specifically, those issues are more so surrounded, for me, it goes to criminal justice. It goes to police brutality. It goes to taxes, which I know for some is like, really? Yeah, it is. Because when we start talking about gentrification and Black people losing like their property and their land and things like that, it comes down to kind of the things that they're able to get away with as it relates to taxes. Okay. So for the most part, I'm just kind of pushing for, as Issa Rae would say, I'm rooting for everybody Black.
All right. Okay. All right.
Listen, here's my deal. When Black people do well, everybody do well, right? Like that's just kind of facts. And so as a civil rights lawyer, I'm pushing for equity across the board. So I say I'm rooting for everybody Black, but honestly, I don't really see the point in issues as it relates to LGBTQ community. Like, I believe in equity, right? And for so long, we've not had it. And we've not really had people that have said, so this isn't right because you've decided that you're going to build this highway and you're going to use these good governmental funds and you don't have not one Black contractor.
Right.
Absolutely. I see a problem with that, right?
Yeah.
Or the fact that you want to continue to incarcerate Black and brown people for marijuana when in other states, white people are becoming like millionaires and billionaires.
So what kind of laws can you put into place to combat things like that, though?
So I plan to push for full legalization of marijuana.
Okay. I'm with you on that. I'm with you.
Yeah. It's a great business decision. Like real talk. Like this isn't because I'm like smoking a blunt right now. Like I'm not, that's not what it is. Right. I'm a business major. I've studied everything. So I understand the medical benefits.
Right.
I also understand the business side of it. So we're going to walk into a session where we're going to be at this great deficit because people have lost their jobs. They're not spending as much money. Half of it is because of COVID. So we don't have the revenue coming in, yet we have so many more people that are on unemployment. So right now we're kind of out of balance, right? We're spending more than we're going to be kind of getting in.
For sure.
Not really, but we need to supplement from what we're losing. And so in 2017, the legislature legalized marijuana only for about 3 specific medicinal purposes. And then in 2019, they expanded upon those usages. And so I'm hoping in 2021, I can go in and say, listen, we're just going to fully legalize and decriminalize. And so that would save us money on people being incarcerated for marijuana.
Yeah.
Because I would want to make it retroactive. And that means we're getting people out of prison. And that means our tax dollars aren't being paid so that we're housing people in prison. And then we can actually start to generate revenue. And with us being a border state, it will make our borders safer, even though I don't have I don't have any direct control over our border because that's a federal issue.
Yeah.
But I do have indirect control in the form of if we legalize it, then we know that the cartels are not bringing as much across. It's kind of put out of business, right?
Right.
And we know what people are getting is clean and safe, which I don't know who y'all know this month, but I know y'all know somebody.
Absolutely.
And somebody done got a hold of something. What is this week?
Right.
So, so literally, like, it's making it like safer.
Yeah.
And we've got the models. We know that it works.
Do you feel confident in reaching across the aisle, making it a bipartisan effort? Do you feel like you get that support?
So on the marijuana, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, West Dallas. Yes, West Dallas is my district. Yes.
All right. You got some fans. Hold on.
Parts of West Dallas, not all of West Dallas. We're split 3 ways. But anyway, so for me, people always say, Jasmine, you have all these progressive issues. How are you going to get anything done in a red Austin? And so I was like, so the good thing is I understand colors. I understand red, blue, and I understand green. I understand green real good, right?
Green is the most important.
Green is the one. And so when I'm trying to reach across the aisle, it's really going to be kind of focusing on the green part of it. Yeah. There's a social justice portion of this, but to get kind of other people on board, I'll most likely be emphasizing kind of the green part of it. So I'm always looking for what is the money component. And then also, I used to live in Texarkana. I still own property in Texarkana, Texas, as well as Texarkana, Arkansas. Mm-hmm. And so I understand like small towns and small town politicians. And so I'm hoping to kind of be able to say, like, for instance, down in South Dallas, I didn't know this because I live in West Dallas, but I didn't know this was going on until I started talking to people and they told me about their internet service. And like basically, when I used to go to my granny's house, me and my cousins, we would all spend the night, but you want to be the first one to take your bath because if you're not,
the water cold.
The hot water gonna be.
I know about that.
So, like the internet is kind of like that. Like they've got like where it's like, oh, we've got one kind of faucet. Mm-hmm. Everybody kind of gets a little bit off of that, like one. Mm-hmm. And I was like, really? Like,
boil you some water and put it in there and make it to warm it up a little bit.
And so I'm like, this is a problem, but it's a problem in our rural communities as well. Like they don't have like the access to broadband that they need. Mm-hmm. And so it's a big issue when we're talking about potentially going back into the next school season and COVID still being around. No. There's a big question about how are these children going to learn? And, people are like, oh, just get on the internet and Zoom it. Right. And it's like, sorry, that's not really an option for everybody.
Absolutely.
So finding these commonalities between the small towns and a lot of portions of like House District 100 that I think will also help.
How many people are you running against? Like, how many people are going for that seat right now? Is it just you, or is it?
So I'm in the runoff. So there's only one opponent.
Okay.
Initially, I had 5 opponents. So there were initially 6 of us.
Knocking them down. So what differentiates you from this other opponent?
Yeah. So probably just that I'm real.
Okay.
Don't really know what else to say. I've been telling people that they can go on Ballotpedia. Mm-hmm. And Ballotpedia tells you like where people's money comes from. Yeah. Most people don't really go that far when they're researching candidates.
I do. I look at everything.
Say what?
I say I do. I look at everything. I like if they're a career politician, I want to know what they voted on, what they sponsored.
Yes. So the average voter doesn't do that. I just want to be clear, right? Yeah. And that's cool. But Ballotpedia makes it really easy to like kind of just see some very basic kind of just stuff. Yeah. So all of my top donors are Black men. And I'm not saying, oh, Black men donated $100 and they're my top donors. I'm talking about like thousands of dollars.
Really? Okay.
My top donors are Black men. They know what I'm about. They know what I'm trying to do. And that's kind of that. My opponent's top donors are not Black men, are not Black in general. But for the most part, they're PACs, right? And so the reason that I bring that up is because I don't owe anything to those Black men other than probably looking out for them and making sure that law enforcement can't just kill them at will and get away with it.
Right. Oh.
Versus my opponent who has like these random packs and random, so, where the allegiance will lie is a whole other issue. So that's one thing. Mm-hmm. I am actually a licensed attorney. A lot of times my opponent tries to talk about she graduated law school and she tries to kind of skirt the issue. She's failed the bar. So you don't have a bar card. And so the way that I like to kind of like tell people is, are you going to take your car to be fixed? Are you going to take it to a heart surgeon or are you going to take it to a mechanic?
You're going to take it to your uncle, the shade tree mechanic, or are you going to take it to
Right. So the deal is like, and then, like I said, it only pays $7,200 a year.
Yeah. Right.
I don't really know where the money is coming from, but I do know that there's all these like big interest groups that are really interested.
A game being played.
Right.
So I would
like talking about like the ethical side of politics and things like that. Like it gets down to like you doing this kind of research, right?
Absolutely.
So I am unbought. I am unbossed.
Yeah.
Which is probably a problem for some.
I think it's a good thing. You got your own monies. So
right, but like, when it comes to the establishment, kind of presents an issue, right? But the deal is, I recognize that I wouldn't be here, but for people that came before me, my ancestors marching in the streets, making it possible. I am single. I am childless. So when I'm thinking about what am I going to do for this modern day civil rights movement, mm-hmm. I've been saying since day one, we're in the midst of a modern day civil rights movement. It wasn't once George Floyd was way alive when I was saying this, okay? Yeah. I've been in this race for a little over a year now. And I was saying it because I've been dealing with these cases of police brutality. And I've been seeing kind of the trend. Yeah. So for me, I'm saying, what is my role? Where does God want me? What can I do best? And so when I got in, people were like, oh, opponents were like calling me like, well, you could be a judge. I can because I'm qualified. I get that, right? That's if I just wanted a title.
Right.
And I can tell you, if I would have run for judge, I wouldn't have had 5 opponents at all because you don't have lawyers running and, whatever, right?
Right on.
So I wouldn't have had all these opponents at all. And I would have been making 6 figures as a judge. But that's not why I'm in it.
You're trying to make legislative change, which I'm
trying to make legislative change.
Appreciate that.
Exactly.
I appreciate that. I like it. I got one more question for you. I don't want to hold you too long. So, how do you restore confidence? And because a lot of people have been like, you know what, these politicians are all the same. They're not going to change anything. Things are going to be the same in 5 years, 10 years. How do you restore confidence, particularly in the Democratic Party in a red state with a Trump in office? How do you restore that confidence?
Yeah, so I tell people all the time we're what I call a throwback campaign, right? So nowadays people just get money and send mail.
Yeah,
Mail. For us, we actually collected signatures to get on the ballot. It was $750 to get on. Mm-hmm. Instead, I went out to the people. I wanted the people to know that I'm going to work for you from day one.
Yeah.
It would have been a lot easier for me to just shell out $750.
Right.
I chose to go to the people. When it came down to just going and get the signatures beyond that, I stayed in touch with a lot of those people.
Oh,
right.
You got a constituent right there.
Yes. I get the first part of Mesquite. I don't know if you in my part yet. But you can go to Who Represents Me on Google and do Texas, and you can find out. Put your address in, and you find out if it's HD 100. So long story short, I went to the people, and COVID was a problem for me because that limited my access to the people. Right. I don't mind working hard. Like I'm tired. I'm tired, just like most other people are tired. I wish that there was someone that I felt like, oh, I can trust you to do the right thing. I know you're going to go down there. I know you're going to fight. I know you're going to amplify our issues, but I haven't felt that way.
Yeah.
Because it would be a lot easier for me to just practice law here. Like a lot easier, right? But at some point in time, you got to realize, like, or you got to accept if God has a greater calling on your life, and if it's your time to step up and sacrifice for the benefit of others.
I know.
And so that's just kind of where I am. Like I'm tired.
That's good stuff. Well, you know what? I like what I hear too. Ricky Walter said he likes what he hears. I love what I hear. I'm a big advocate of, for instance, I'm one of those that says Biden has to pick a black woman for VP. I feel like I love a competent, smart, intelligent, professional black woman that knows her stuff. I think is the most powerful thing in the world. And we trust black women they trust black women to do everything, to raise their kids, and run their households and everything in the world other than run the country. And I think the past time for that to happen we'll start with that vice president role, and hopefully it rolls into a presidential role. And actually that started with you winning this house seat in Texas. I really hope you win. Where can we, if we want to support you, how do we do that?
Yes. So on all social media platforms, I don't even know how many we have everything. I don't know how to use it all, but we have everything. And so it's Jasmine, Jasmine, and then the word for FOR, and then 100. And then our website is the same, jasmine4100.com.
Jasmine4100.com.
Yeah, and my cell phone number is online. It's everywhere. If you have questions, you can call me, text me. I'm tired of people not being accessible.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to be as accessible as I can to answer questions that people may have.
I love it. There we go. Jasmine4100.com, right? Well, Ms. Crockett, thank you so much. I appreciate you for coming on.
No, thank you.
I want you to promise me that I get an opportunity to do this once you get in office.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna hold you to that.
Yes, hold me to it. These good old campaign promises, honey.
Hey, right on. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we'll talk to you again soon. All right, guys. You guys ready to rock and roll? Y'all ready to rock and roll? Let's bring my folks on. Let's do this thing. Let me get out this tie. Hey, what's going on? What's up, Shahana? Y'all ready to do this thing, Candace? Can I get out of this jacket real quick? Rick?
I didn't want to got a collar shirt.
You went and got your collar, Mark.
I felt underdressed.
Yes, sir.
Let me get out of this thing. That was good stuff, right? Good stuff.
I loved it. Good job.
I love it. Yeah. All right, get comfortable. Let's get this party started. Who else we got? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people. What? 6 people. We may have about 3 or 4 more pop on. If they pop on, just put them on in as producer. But let's get this party started. What's our first topic? Murder of Vanessa Guillen. I hope I'm not saying that name wrong. I think I'm saying it right. But I've had an opportunity to see this story, and I think it's very much crazy, ridiculous, and I think that we need to really find out more what happened with this situation. I see what they're saying happened. She went miss. She reported some sexual advances or whatever to her mom about the sergeant. Correct me if I'm wrong on any of these points. Then she came up missing. They found out that one of her friends or one of the guys was some what's the word? Some foul play. Foul play. They I'm sorry, guys. Give me just a second. I've read too many of these stories today, so it's a little bothering me a little bit watching that one and watching the other one that we're gonna talk about today. So I'm a little bothered, to be totally honest with you, about all the death that's going on in this world at the hands of these ridiculous people. So she went missing, then she was dead, and they figured out who they believe it is. The guy ended up taking the punk way out and shot himself, killed himself, unfortunately. So there's no due process in that regard. So that really pisses me off. They did, however, take his estranged wife, I think is what they refer to her as, to jail right now. So maybe we'll get more answers as to what's happening with this whole situation. But I think it's definitely unfortunate. I think her family definitely needs more answers. And the way that they did it and how they described the chopping her body up and putting it in cement and trying to burn it up is absolutely just, where's the humanity? Let's start with Jennifer. What are your thoughts on this whole situation?
So my thoughts, as Brittany mentioned, I'm, prior Coast Guard, so probably nowhere near, like the Army and the masculinity of the Army, but I've seen us tear up barracks rooms for a piece of property. So for them not to even bat an eye when she went missing is just, appalling. Like, I don't even understand how a person, goes missing, a soldier in your platoon goes missing, and you clear her barracks and just right away assume she went AWOL without even, any accountability. And what bothers me as a veteran is how nobody in that chain of command had been held accountable for, doing any kind of investigative work as to what happened to her.
Right. Anybody else want to chime in as it relates to this story and their thoughts?
I think it also heightens another issue when it comes to sexual assault or sexual harassment in the military by women. Something like 33% of women are sexually assaulted in the military, which is crazy, and 80% say they have been harassed. And it was a study done that more women are likely to be raped in the military than killed in combat. So this is a real issue that we do not address and do not talk about. And she is, unfortunately, is along the lines of a lot of other women who have been killed, murdered, not just in the military, but just for being a woman. It's really kind of crazy and ridiculous, and I think we need to do something about it. There need to be some laws passed immediately.
I agree. Anybody else want to chime in on that before I start back?
I just have one thing. I was reading up on it, and the sergeants and everyone were stating that they were unaware about the harassment, and I find it hard to believe. So hopefully they will investigate them more. I know in the military, I was never in the military, but my father was, and there's a lot of things that are handled in-house. Mm-hmm. So that they need to investigate that more and find out how did you state that you never knew about this, and I'm pretty sure they knew.
It runs rampant. The sexual harassment and the sexual misconduct runs rampant in the military.
It does.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then Jennifer, you can probably attest to that.
Yeah, it does. And I guess I could see where she didn't tell anyone, because I've seen, firsthand the stigma of coming forward. And if it was, I don't think they've ever said, do we know? I don't know. I know he was a sergeant, but I don't know. I don't know the Army's rank. I don't know what the equivalent to that is in the Coast Guard or the Navy. But, I know when you get up to those higher enlisted ranks, if the superiors, look at that person highly, I've seen firsthand where if the women, come on board, they're right away, they're either a bitch or a slut, like, are they going to be bitchy and not put out, or, are we right away calling them whores and sluts and, the morale girls is what, they used to say on the ships. So I could see where maybe, she didn't tell anyone. And so maybe they're, not to say there was, like no official report, not to say that, they didn't assume that something was going on. Because I definitely have seen it firsthand where, the victim blaming is really, really big.
And there has to be more to it, because she didn't even want to tell her mom who it was. And she was afraid that her mom would try to address it, and that she was afraid for her mom's life. For the fact that they reported that she was afraid for her mom's life, for her mom to know about it.
And rightfully so.
Right? There's a whole lot more involved. The power that these people have or wield in the military is ridiculous. You can only imagine how afraid she was.
Yeah, I agree. Lamar, Chris, you guys know I was a military spouse. It's a boys' club. My ex-husband's commanding officer allowed my car and things to be gone by my husband. They protected him. He with what he did in the military, he had an affair. He should have actually been demoted and arrested, but they protected him. I didn't get a car or anything. So with this young lady, of course, they're going to protect each other,
Yeah.
especially if he was a sergeant or high up. So it's
That's
disgusting.
absolutely. Anybody else want to add to that before we go to the
Yeah.
thing?
What I think it highlights is the systemic issues that I think certain people have known about the military, particularly black people over the years who knew that, some of our ancestors, fought in several wars, but wasn't able to come home and get, equal justice or equal rights. And now we see this case that's really, really disheartening and just vile and nasty when you have to read. I just read it before I came in and I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
But we're starting to see that it's not just the systemic issues with policing in America, but it's also transitioning into the military now. How we gonna address it, I don't know, because it's like the young lady said earlier, it's a boys' club, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's an exclusive boys' club because I've never been in the military. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what goes on in the inside, but man, all I can say is it's about time for us to address a lot of issues within our policing and military. Prayers go out to the family. This has to be one of the worst cases that I've ever heard of in the military. Man, I don't even know what to say. I'm at a
And,
loss of
and,
words.
and I think that's the operative word that we've heard of. Some of them we probably hadn't even heard about some of the stuff that probably goes on in there. So it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I just
And
hope we
yeah,
keep her. I just hope we keep her name out there. We keep saying her name, and we keep this in the media. Otherwise, it's just going to get swept under the rug, and we're going to forget about it in a couple months, and nobody's going to be prosecuted, or the right things aren't going to happen. So I just hope we keep saying her name and keep it out there.
And
because she and her family deserve justice.
Right, and I would say, I know we got the Black Lives Matter movement going on strong, and COVID-19, but the Me Too movement, let's not forget about it.
No, let's not let that die. Right, for sure.
Don't let it die.
Right.
Do not let it die. If you see it, say something. You know what I mean? You got to.
Right.
We got to hold men accountable like we want to hold white people accountable.
That's right.
And I'm speaking to the men out there. I'm speaking to us. I'm speaking to us. Hold each other accountable.
I agree 100%.
I have one thing to say. Not taken away from that, but men should be able to address sexual harassment just like women as well. And I think that we allow women to come forward, but a man will not come forward because they don't. A lot of society makes it seem as though men are not sexually harassed or nothing. Is because they consider it you're just a man. That's what you're supposed to do.
They call it hazing. It's called hazing.
Yeah. And then also important for men to come out in regards to sexual harassment that they know about against other women. I think it's important for men to do that too.
That's important. Just like we expect the cops to rat out the other cops, as they call it, rat out the other cops when they see them doing stuff they're not supposed to do. I agree 100%.
Yeah, we gotta hold each other accountable. Hold each other accountable, man.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to voting. As you guys seen, we interviewed someone earlier. She's running for the House in Texas, and I'm not gonna stay on this super long. I just want to stress how important it is that we do vote. There's a lot going on right now. I just saw a video where some protesters are standing in the middle of the street at the Mount Rushmore, trying to keep the people from going to the Trump thing. I hope that people have that same fervor and energy at the ballot box, because we've done a lot of protesting, a lot of talking. I hope everyone keeps that same energy at the ballot box. Anything you guys want to add about voting, encouragement, pushing people to do it?
I hope Georgia does right, because every election we have machines breaking down. And with Stacey Abrams, the reason why Kemp won is because he was over the elections as well. I don't get how you can be over the elections and also run for governor. But hey.
Voter suppression is a real thing, guys.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
How do you combat voter suppression?
I think probably with this movement, I feel hopeful that more of us are going to vote this year. I really do. I think we're at a point where people are really fed up. We're not taking the bullshit anymore. We're not just going to lay down and be quiet. I think we have more Gen Zers that are old enough to vote, and I'm thinking they're gonna pave the way. And I don't see this movement dying, and I think it is going to carry over into voting, and I really hope so. And I think really just keeping it out there, just keeping it relevant. Y'all remember Rock the Vote? It was huge. Barack the Vote is what it was. It was huge. So many of us came out and voted. I think we can do that again and be even bigger. I feel good about it. I feel hopeful about it.
Yeah, I also think that, more people of color just need to run for office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that'll help. That'll help. And nobody know our communities better than we do. So.
And we got to vote for them. And we got to. Well, first of all, we got to learn what they are running for, what they believe in, and also hold them accountable to what they say they believe in. Just like we need to do all the rest of them, and then vote for them.
That's right.
Because a lot of times we get in there and we don't hold them. They get in there, we don't hold them accountable, and they run uncontested for years and years and years. Like Royce West, I don't know what he's done, but most of the time he's been in office for 27 years. Most of the time he runs uncontested. Now he may be doing great stuff. I don't know. I'm not. I can't speak on his record, but it's just interesting that people run uncontested.
That is interesting.
Like that. So it's interesting to me.
And also do your research. I don't think enough of us are doing our research about what people are doing in office or the people who are running. We got to do our research.
Try to make it hard as possible. They're going to try to make it hard as possible. So I would take a suggestion that everyone be prepared. Get you those beach chairs that you get and sit in, and be prepared to wait, because they are not when we had to vote a couple weeks ago, they were trying to keep the lines longer, not open. So they're going to try to make this very difficult. So you have to be patient. You have to be prepared. So just like you're going to the beach and relaxing, you come out there, you bring your little cooler, whatever you want to bring. You're going to be waiting.
Some snacks.
Yeah.
Tam and Marcus, you guys have a movement going on right now that you're leading. You guys want to tell us a little bit about that and want to chime in on the whole voting piece?
Marcus, I'll let you go.
Okay, I'm just going to introduce Tam. Shout out to everybody. This is Tam. And I know she's about to tell y'all everything y'all need to know. What I will say is I'm encouraging everybody to get registered and also go the extra mile and vote. Last election, we had 50,000 people who were actually registered and didn't vote. So if we just go ahead and vote, voter education, it's people's job like me and Tam right now to get that educational information. Now we have something coming up. I'll let Tam tell you. But it's our job to go out and vote and exercise our right.
Yeah, so we're actually partnering with other people in the community to actually get voter education out there. So things like you did today, just kind of seeing who's on the ballot, understanding what the left and the right is, understanding, what your vote means, understanding the statistics, how close we are to actually turning Texas blue, those things, but still being nonpartisan, so we can actually share all truth and general information so people can make the best educated vote. And just being able to move. So, I think that ties into just knowing what we can do as Black people, knowing how powerful we are when we come together, and knowing how far we can go when we're educated around things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And Hispanic for my sister at the top over here.
Black and brown people, baby. Black and brown people.
I was telling Karen something earlier that with this whole Gullen, am I saying her name right? Gullen situation? I can't think. I don't know. I keep saying the name wrong probably, but with that happening, if there's not justice to get Black and brown people on the same page and for a cause, is very dangerous. So I think they might want to get moving real fast in figuring out what exactly happened. Black and brown people in the streets at the same time, they thought there was some crazy stuff going on with these first protests. I don't know what that was like, but I think some progress will be made for sure. All right, moving on to the Black Lives Matter conversation. Last week, early Monday, we talked about, do we need or do we want the help from white people? Do we care? Do we want their help as it relates to our movement in Black Lives Matter and making change in the government, legislative? Do we want and need the white help? And that came about because Rush Limbaugh went on to the Breakfast Club and he interviewed with them, with Charlamagne and DJ Envy and the young lady, I can't think of her name.
Angela Yee.
But Angela Yee, I can't stand Angela Yee. Anyway.
Okay.
But he interviewed with them, and it was a very tough, rough interview. They were not very receptive from my point of view. And then he went back to his own show and he discussed how his experience was. He wasn't disappointed about it, wasn't mad. He basically just said that he was distraught, if you will, or he didn't like the whole George Floyd situation. It never should have happened. The police never should have did what he did, and we do need change, and he wanted to get the conversation started. So he asked, who do I need to talk to reach the Black community and talk to the Black community and get nothing may not happen in this first conversation, but I want to at least get the conversation started. Some have said, forget Rush Limbaugh. He's a racist, and he's said a million things in the past. We don't need his help. My opinion is totally different from that. While I know his past, I feel like he has a huge audience, and if he says something positive in the way of moving in the right direction, one of the 80 million people in his audience might be affected, which in my opinion helps our cause. The more people that see our point of view and want to help further our cause. What are y'all's thoughts on that? Rick, let's start with you.
Well, first of all, I think there's a misconception on last week or Monday, what was said. I'm going to say as clear as possibly, we need white people. We need white people. We need white people. We can't do it without them. There are some white people, Rush Limbaugh being one of them, that it's not about people listening to Rush and saying, oh, I understand. You know, Rush is acknowledging that George Floyd died. Well, good for him. Eric, you know, anybody who watched that video can see that was wrong. What happened to George Floyd? President Trump even said it was wrong. And so us trying to give credit to Rush for saying, oh, his killing was wrong, is to me, it's so minuscule. I hope you will understand that it was wrong. My issue is, with Rush especially, is he don't believe in systemic racism. And if you don't believe in that, then you can't, whatever you want to know how to fix the problem, you're not going to be able to fix the problem, because you can't fix something that you don't know how to. If you don't know what the problem is, how can you solve the problem? You know what I mean? And so that's my issue with Rush. He don't believe in that. He don't believe in white. He won't believe in white privilege, and he don't believe that the police killing of George Floyd in particular, and in most cases, is mostly racially motivated. And so you can't solve any problem if you don't believe in those things. So how can I tell him how to fix the problem and he don't believe in the solutions, or he don't believe in the issues that causes the problem in the beginning? And so that's my issue with Rush Limbaugh. I do believe that we need white people. We can't do it without them. We just can't. There's no possible way. This is, I say before, there's not just a black issue. This is an American issue. This is a true American issue. So
I'm gonna respond to that. Then I'm gonna bounce to someone else. I hear what Ricky's saying. I do disagree with what Ricky's saying. Most of it. I feel like if we're expecting people that come from a whole different world, that were born in a time when they were superior, well, that's how they were raised, right? And you're expecting his whole paradigm to shift in order to accept his help, which I think is crazy. My thing is nobody should have to check off a box of, do you believe in this? Yes. Do you believe in that? Yes. Do you believe in that? Nope. Okay, well, we don't want your help. That shouldn't be the case. Hold on, let me finish. Yeah. All right, I feel like that we should be able to, rather than just saying systemic racism, what is that? No, you just telling a white person systemic racism. That don't mean nothing. That don't mean nothing to anybody that don't know what's going on in the world. What does that mean? My thing is be specific. Let's tackle one thing at a time.
There are people his age that know what that is.
But everybody don't know. So you telling him systemic racism, that's a problem. Do you believe in it? Well, what part of it? Now, which part of systemic, I gotta say it, systemic racism are we talking about? Just trying to make this whole big balloon of, you gotta believe in all this. Well, which part? All of it. But I don't, I believe in all of it necessarily. There's a whole bunch of stuff within that I might not agree with. So I think we need to be able to break things down specifically. Are we talking about healthcare? Are we talking about educational disparity? Are we talking about police brutality? What specifically are we talking about? Now let's go to Mark.
All right. This is what I say. I say the answer that I believe to that question, do we need white people, is trapped in the gospel. I think it was John the 16th chapter or maybe the 17th chapter when Jesus could have prayed for anything in the world. What did he pray for? Unity. He said we needed each other. So how I'm gonna loop that together, I'm gonna say this. Even we need something, even the racists, they need us. We need them. Prime example, A. Philip Randolph in the 40s told President Roosevelt about what? The Negro problem. President Roosevelt said, I acknowledge the Negro problem, but guess what? You got to make me do it. I'm not doing nothing about it. A. Philip Randolph applied pressure to President Roosevelt, threatened to march on Washington. And what did Roosevelt do? He signed into effect a law. A racist president signed into effect a law. So, yes, it's going to take all type of people. If white people in the Democratic Party did not have black people, guess what? Barack wouldn't have won. You see what I'm saying? So we need each other in local and in the grand scheme of things. It doesn't really matter if people are racist. I know racist people who voted for Barack. You know what I'm saying? That's just I know people who are good black people who voted for Trump. So at the end of the day, we need each other. You know what I'm saying? We need to be more educated about the voting process, and we don't have to just give our vote to anybody. We need to listen. I know I'm not giving mine to Trump, but I'm going to be listening to Biden and
Right.
his talking points when it comes to that time.
I like that. All right, Taylor, let's go to you, and then we'll go to Candace.
Well, I mean, y'all already know I'm really big on diversity. And with us being 14% of the United States, to Rick's point, of course, we're going to need not just white people, but we're going to need everybody to move us forward. But when it comes to throwing people away, that's kind of where I disagree. Because when you're looking at history, C.P. Ellis, who partnered with the Ku Klux Klan leader to break down segregation to move forward to desegregate schools in the 1970s. She didn't throw that Ku Klux Klan member away, and if she would have thrown him away, maybe we still would have had segregation in some of these areas. So it's often our responsibility to partner with people that we don't like or partner with people that we may disagree with on several different topics, but that's how we get things done. The way that we don't get things done is just standing still and being arrogant and saying, I don't need you because of X, Y, and Z. Because when it comes to all of us being black, if we talk long enough, we're going to have disagreements. We're not going to agree on every single thing. But it's about having a meeting of the minds and pushing our agenda forward. So I absolutely agree that we need everybody. I don't care what your background is. If you are with me, if you can move with me, I need you. But if you can't move with me, then I don't need you. And to Rush Limbaugh's point, I think it's a disservice to hear what he said in totality and ignore him saying, "Can you help me here? How can I help?" If somebody is coming to another black person and saying, "How can I help?" and you say, "Oh, well, I don't need your help,"
Mm.
I think that in itself is being stagnant and allowing history to repeat itself, because we're now at a pivotal point where we having white people come to us and saying, how can I help what you guys are doing? I don't honestly see it. I don't honestly understand it, but what can I do? Those are pivotal opportunities for us to change. It's not our responsibility to pat them on our back or their back. It's not our responsibility to educate them, because there's enough education out there for them to research, but we can't allow them to lead themselves. We got to be the one at the forefront of
Mm.
that. So it's our responsibility to share with them, hey, this is what I need you to do. If you're going to stand behind me, I need you to move aside. So that's all I got.
Candace, you want to chime in on that?
I don't have much. I pretty much agree with Ricky. I mean, Tammy made some valid points as well, but I feel we do need the help from white people. This is a country that was set up by them. So of course, we're always going to need that help to work together, but we don't have to accept help from everybody. We have the choice to do that. So with Rush Limbaugh, I mean, what he said could have been beautiful, but he's just somebody I'm not looking I'm not looking for his help. I'm aligning myself with people like Biden. I know people make the argument that Biden is similar to Trump, but at this time, that's who I'm aligning myself with. And that's all I have to say.
All right, let's go to Chris or Hannah. Which one of y'all jump in?
I'll jump in. I agree mostly with Ricky as well. I think that I kind of have issue with the word need. Is having white people in our corner a great idea? Yes. The ones who want to be allies, who have our best interests at heart, who are really interested in learning and changing. Is Rush Limbaugh one of those people? Absolutely not. He has made it clear the type of person that he is. Like it was said many times on the show on Monday, I believe, where he's basically on his deathbed. He's trying to right his wrongs. Great, I respect you for that. But he's not someone I trust. I think it was also said that I'm sure he's interested in some sort of change, but it's like being an alcoholic. You cannot get help for an alcoholism if you do not admit you have a problem. If he can't see some of the issues that we have, he disagrees with them, then he can't be a part of the solution. He hasn't admitted that there is a problem. So there are some people you can throw away. Rush Limbaugh is one of those people. But the people who, maybe have changed, seriously changed, and are here for the cause, hey, I'm here for it. Also, I'm going to say one other thing. Like you said something about we shouldn't give them a list of things, a checkoff list. I agree. We shouldn't give them a checkoff list to say, okay, cool, you can ride with us. But you can't just be like, oh, George Floyd dying was terrible. Oh my gosh, now my eyes are open. How? What about all the other things that have happened? And then you still can't admit that those things are an issue, that there is systematic racism and white privilege? You're not really here for the change then.
I mean, I think he did say that there was a problem. And then he asked, what can I do? What do we need to do? Let's get the conversation started. All right, Hannah, let's go to you.
Okay, so this is my take on it. I hate to say we need them. I would much rather say we would want them, but we have to be honest at this point in time. We do this. If you work in corporate America, there's a lot of people or some people you work with every day to get things solved that you might not particularly care for. However, when you want to get your job done and you want to reach that goal, you have to work with that person. You don't have to like them. You don't have to accept it. But at some point in time, you're going to work with someone that you don't particularly care for. But my thing is, I don't want to come to a point where, yes, we need you, but I don't want it to come to a point that you want us to know that we need you.
Sorry.
So we can say, oh yeah, we need you, we can work together, we hear what you say, you'll get your voice out there. But then it comes to the point that we are not going to bow down to you because we actually want to work hand in hand. And that's my whole issue. I would like to work beside you, but I'm not going to work, you're not going to be above me, and we're not going to be beneath you. And I particularly feel like, yes, Rush Limbaugh, we don't like him. A lot of people don't like him. A lot of people do like him that we'd be shocked about. However, if you want to help and you want to genuinely help, not just because we're canceling people left and right now, if you're not on board with the issues and the race issues that been going on all these years, but they're finally after the George Floyd, that it's finally some justice that they're trying to do. I want you to be on board, not on the sake of your job, but on board because you actually know that it's an issue and it's a problem with everyone. And if you can't accept that, I know we do need to work hand in hand, but I'm kind of on the fence because I don't want you to work hand in hand on the sake of your job. And honestly, I feel like that's the only reason why he's on board with this. I can be wrong, but I want you to be genuine when you're on board with us. But yeah, we do need to work with white people.
Also, we need to be careful who we align ourselves with because we don't want them to hijack our movement because it has been done before.
I think we feel about all this hijacking. I think we have the insecurity about hijacking as Black folks, with everybody, with LGBTQ, with everything. We're worrying about people hijacking our movement. But I'm about to go to you, Rick. I know you're ready. But to respond to Hannah is, I definitely don't think that's the case with Rush. He doesn't need our audience. He's not worried about his job. Believe me, he's not worried about that whatsoever. He got one of the top networks and biggest audiences in the world, so he ain't worrying about that. I think honestly it's because he's sick and he's on the verge of dying. And it just bothers me that we are people that supposedly be humanity, some Christian, but we don't extend grace to everybody. We selective about who we extend grace to. So someone is going through something, even if it is because he's almost on his deathbed, and he chooses to have a change of heart about how hateful he has been towards black people. It's a slap in the face to everything that we believe in. To say, oh no, you said all this racist stuff. Nope, you can't be forgiven. Nope, you can't. There's no grace for you. We'll never accept you, even if you're coming to us and has no financial reason ever that need. This dude make over $100 million a year. He has no reason to come to black folks and talk about nothing. He could very well continue to do what he's done all the past few years, talk horribly about everything. And Shantae, in response to what he said, he didn't say that he did. He said that this police looked like it was more so. What was the term she used? Let me see. A power trip. He said it may have been racial. I don't know, but it seemed more like a power trip. The way he had his knee on him and he was looking at everybody like daring them. So that's the context in which he said that. So
that's a problem.
So we can't expect people to use exact verbiage that we choose to use. The most important part of that to me is he chose to take a step versus just talking about it on his own platform, but to go on another platform and talk about it and not having to saying, hey, what can I do? What can we do together? And didn't have to. I mean, he don't benefit in no way. He don't benefit with his audience in that. He took, in my opinion, he took a big risk with his audience by doing it. There's a lot of racist people that do listen to him that are probably like, what the hell are you doing going to these Negroes, talking to these black folks for, and being considerate for these black folks? He probably lost some people for it, in my opinion. All right,
well, he didn't take a risk going on the Breakfast Club, and we gave him grace allowing him on the Breakfast Club. He would have taken a risk if he would have, yes. He would have taken a risk if he would have said, Breakfast Club, come to my show. He didn't take no risk because his audience is not watching the Breakfast Club.
But you know what? We're not gonna go there because this black thing we gotta know. We ain't gonna give Rush Limbaugh no chance to talk to us. They would not go to his. They would never go to his. Even if he offered, I guarantee.
That's probably true. But I mean, you can at least.
I think Charlamagne would go. I really think Charlamagne would go. I do think Charlamagne would go, but. There's so much to unpack. I'm gonna be really quick. As far as I'm gonna address everything, but as far as the white thing, and I'm not saying that we need white people like, oh, we need them. I think we need in the sense of it's the United States of America. So we need everybody we can't ask for equality. And when we want equality as a whole to be equal and everything to be fair across the board. And so the white America needs to be on board for that as well, because without that, they control the system, right? And so they're over the system. They created the system. So without them, we cannot move up in a sense of trying to be equal. And that's why you're trying to see laws passed and you're trying to see the movement of just wanting white people to know. I think it is upon our responsibility to educate and to always continue to educate them. We got to continue to keep going out, keep telling them what systemic racism is, keep letting them know exactly what we got to do to become equal. No matter how successful you are, you're still to them as a black man. There are people that what's the Harvard professor that got arrested in front of his house? He's successful. He's a Harvard professor. But he got arrested in front of his house, and it's an issue. The thing with Rush is, I'm not saying that people can't change, and I'm not saying Rush Limbaugh can't change, because he probably can. He's a human being, so it's not like his mind is somehow different than anybody else's mind, unless you're a sociopath. Everybody can change. The thing is, he's not saying the things that have shown me that he's changed. You acknowledging the death of another man is not change. That's just you're a human being and say, oh, that moved me. That was wrong. And it's not encompassed, and this is what we do as black people. It's we try to say, oh, we have to forgive them. Or we have to, it's them. He's the racist, he's the bigot person. He has to show us. Why are we extending grace to somebody who hasn't showed us anything? And so when he show us that, made a change, and I believe you're right. Like I said before, it's not really about lists. It's about reality. You cannot fix the problem if you don't believe that what causes the problem exists. And that's the issue that Rush Limbaugh has. He doesn't believe in none of the issues.
Oh, I'm at Sam. I got to go after you.
Let me chime in. So if I offend you and I go to you and you know I offended you, but I don't necessarily know, or maybe I disregarded it, but I come to myself and I say, hey, what can I do to be better?
Mm-hmm.
Is your response going to be the same thing? Because this is in all reality, this is before I have the ability to actually move, to actually present action, right? So if I'm coming to you and asking, what can I do? Now, this is the point where Rush Limbaugh is. There's no ability to present action because you haven't even told him.
That's not true.
Charlamagne didn't tell him.
That's not true.
Charlamagne didn't tell him. Charlamagne didn't tell him anything. He went on this show, which I'm pretty sure they asked him to come on this show because it's their platform. They get more viewers, they get more money, they get more.
He wanted to come on the show.
It was a win-win for them. So now here's an opportunity to have a bipartisan conversation. And I come to you and say, okay, what can I do? I may have offended, but what can I do? I don't have the ability to act because I don't know how to act. So this is an opportunity that we missed. Charlamagne missed it, and I think you're missing it in this.
Can I answer that question?
Let me finish. Because you want him to act. You want him to run. And he's saying, okay, what direction do I run in? And you say, I don't need to tell you what direction to run in. I'm
not saying that.
Basically,
I'm not saying that. No.
We're saying that admit there is a problem.
That's all I'm saying.
We're not saying we're going to completely.
He did admit it was a problem.
No.
He didn't admit several other things.
Admitting somebody's death is a problem. Admitting that somebody. Yeah, play the clip.
I'll play the clip, man. Mr. Producer, I'm playing. Here we go.
George Floyd. Yeah, it's been said that he lost his life. He didn't lose his life. It was taken from him. He was murdered for no possible, explicable, justifiable reason. It was just sickening to watch. Sickening to see, and you look at the face of the cop involved in the video and the three who stood around and weren't doing anything, and you just wonder, how stupid can you be? Do you not realize what you're doing? Do you not? I'm not even sure it was racial with this cop. Might have been, but it could have just been some sort of a power trip. People had their iPhone cameras pointed at him, and he's looking back at them with almost a dare. For me, it was, that's not correct to call it a last straw, but it just got me, folks, because we all only get this one life. You can't get it back. You don't get a do-over. You get a do-over for some mistakes that you might make, but you don't get a second life. Only one person has conquered death. Jesus Christ. Nobody else. There were three of them, one of me. There was incoming fire. But, folks, it was great. I enjoyed it. Inequality, gigantic topics. And they can't be handled in one conversation. Nothing can be solved in one conversation. I know that our fundamental values and the majority of what we believe in this audience can't be completely conveyed in one conversation, a few minutes, especially when operating and trying to plow through preconceived notions, misconceptions, and so forth. But I wanted to speak to the people on the Breakfast Club because I thought it would be an interesting challenge. I thought it might pay off. I didn't, I had some misconceptions or preconceptions of my own of how this would go. But I wanted to make sure. I just wanted to make sure that I don't want a chance that the African-American community might randomly hear what I think about this. I wanted to actually tell them what I thought, and by extension, that I believe I represent a majority of white Americans as well on this. There is nobody that is okay with what happened to George Floyd. Everybody is mad about it, hurt about it, embarrassed by it, affected in a profoundly emotional way that runs the gamut. And I just wanted to have an entree to these people to be able to tell them this from the bottom of my heart. Because we don't want this kind of thing happening in this country. We want the best for everybody.
So that was a small clip of it. If you could hear in that conversation, just that little small clip that I played from him talking to his own audience, his own audience that's full of some racists, full of all types of people. I don't get how anybody could be like, no, we ain't interested in your help whatsoever. No, it's just odd to me.
So can I respond to the whole clip?
Sure.
So Rush Limbaugh, like he said, everybody is upset about what happened to George Floyd. Like I told you on the phone, I agree with Rush Limbaugh. The killing of George Floyd was wrong, right? We're talking about somebody who don't hold the values on how to end systemic racism, or even, in my opinion, don't think he wants to, because you don't believe in this. You don't believe in the.
You keep talking around the term systemic racism, but that means nothing if you don't get specific.
Well, we can get into the specific of what systemic racism is. It means systemic. It means everywhere. It means everywhere. Hold on, let me finish. Let me finish talking about what I was about to say, and then I'll let you go, Chris. That Rush is saying what everybody else is saying. We all agree with that. We all agree that the twin towers coming down was a sad case. It affected all of us deeply, right? But we disagreed to go to Iraq. A lot of us disagreed on that, and we saw over time that decision was wrong. Okay, so when listen to me, when I come back here, we can all agree that George Floyd killing was wrong, but to end the issues that was direct link to that, which he don't even know if it was racially motivated, which we all know, everybody on this panel know that it was. Everybody know that it was, because it's a part of over-policing in the Black community, and these things happen because of the prejudice of the police officers dealing with Black people. And so we all know it was racially motivated. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. We all agree that the killing was wrong. But does he want to agree that there's an issue and a problem with Black people in America being over-police, criminal justice system, healthcare? You had the lady on today that's running for Congress in the district, what district was 100, talking about some of these things that is affecting Black people, and it's systemic. Something that Rush Limbaugh don't believe in.
Right. And I think the issue that most of us have is that he did say, like Rick said, and like all of us have said, he did say, the killing was wrong. I don't know if it was racially motivated. That's where you lose.
It could have been.
What do you mean?
Because he's putting emphasis on the arrogance of the guy. You have to understand speech. He's trying to put emphasis on how the guy was being arrogant.
Well, then he should have said, wow, it looked racially motivated.
I forgot.
And then you captivated people who will believe you. That's not on the checklist. That's just common sense. Like everyone has said, we can all agree that it was wrong. We all know that he killed him in broad daylight with his arrogance. Why can't he just say?
So that was
racially motivated. Like why? Like okay, let's say there is a checklist. Okay, Lamar. Let's say we only need to check off. We need to check. We only need to check off one. We only need you to check off one issue on that checklist, and it would be to admit that there is a problem. That's it.
He did. But he did. How did y'all not hear him admit that it was a problem?
He admitted that the death of George Floyd was a problem. He admitted that the death of George Floyd was a problem.
Was an issue.
We're crystal clear on that. But he has not admitted that there is a racial problem.
And that's what I'm
How
saying.
can you fix this problem if you do
You
not
don't
believe
believe
there
in it.
is one? Like, I would love to give
If y'all,
someone like him credit because, like you guys said, he has a huge audience and he represents a lot of the
no,
white
you wouldn't.
community. That'd be great if we can get those people on our side,
If
but you
y'all,
have to admit
if
there's a
y'all
problem
watch,
first.
I'm gonna pull clips from the Breakfast Club interview for next week or whenever we talk about if we talk about this again.
Oh, they
He
did.
actually, if y'all listen to it, he definitely asked them, what can I do? And all Charlamagne would say is that what Ricky is saying, which is nothing, is there's a systemic racism. Okay, and he asked him, he's an intelligent white man. He said, okay, what though? Was particularly Charlamagne couldn't give him nothing. Systemic racism.
Well,
It's just a
I think that's a
talk.
separate. Someone
I
in
have
the
a definition of
comments
systemic
said
racism right here, if you want it.
someone in the
To know
comments
what it
said
is.
that the Breakfast Club fumbled that interview, and they did. I agree on that.
I have something to say if I get a chance.
Go ahead.
Can I go?
Yeah.
All right. So this is my whole issue. Bear with me. So I do believe us as Black people, we are very forgiving, and we forgive a lot. But I also feel as though we have to be forgiving because we expect people to forgive us, but we don't want to forgive them. Now, I will admit, the Rush Limbaugh, I feel as though, honestly, at this point, he's trying to change his mindset. So we have to try to give someone a chance. We always want to tell people, oh, we need a chance as Black people. We need a chance. But immediately, we don't want to give anyone else a chance. We just give them the cold shoulder and shut them out. So, I mean, we don't have to accept it, but if we see somebody trying to change, even though we know that he says he's not sick and he doesn't have cancer, but we don't know if it's not true or not. Even if he feels as though before I leave this earth, I want to change my mindset and I want to change and go the opposite direction, we have to I think we should just play out and see. People show their true colors eventually. So I feel as though
It's not on purpose of us to forgive him before he do so, though.
Right.
Show me before you show me. Show me.
He's trying to show us. We're not trying to show him. He needs to show us because we have our mindset already.
I guess what I'm asking you, what did he show you in the interview besides that he acknowledged the death of George Floyd was wrong? Everybody in America with eyes can see that the killing of George Floyd was wrong. Just because we agree on that. Thank you, Rush, for telling me something that I already know.
Ricky,
thank you for
would
that.
Would you have ever expected Rush Limbaugh to speak out about anything as it pertains to Black people ever?
He does. He does all the time.
That's the
in a negative light.
Right there. That's the first move.
I feel like on this issue, man, I'm just gonna keep it 100.
Somebody's sick and jacked up. Is it mine?
What happened?
I don't know what you. Yeah, I think it's his. I think it's yours, Lamar.
I feel like on this issue, man, really, I feel like Rush did try to take a step in a positive direction. I agree with Ricky that he wasn't trying to acknowledge the systemic racism, but I also think that it's because he don't even know probably what it is. I think that we got to realize, man, a lot of people don't know Black history like we think they do. You know, like we do.
We don't know our own history.
You know what I'm saying? And so
that's the issue.
And when you have somebody like Rush Limbaugh come on the show and say, I admit it's wrong. When he said what he said about he thinking that it wasn't racial, I wasn't mad at him. Of course, I knew, it was a racist element to it. But do you really think that Rush Limbaugh thinks, oh, looking at the video, oh, yeah, that was racist? He's thinking like, oh, the dude is on a power trip. He told you what he thought.
I guess, Marcus, I just don't understand why are we trying to give props to someone that is saying something that everyone, even the racist president of the United States of America, has said, that the killing of George Floyd was wrong. All y'all on here don't like Donald Trump. Donald Trump said that. Are we giving Donald Trump now? Is he on our side now? It's like,
but Donald Trump didn't come out in a dress.
I don't get it.
Donald Trump didn't go on Breakfast Club. I'm not giving Rush props. What I'm saying is he tried. Donald Trump didn't try. He had pressure on him where he had to come out. The difference is Rush wanted to say something. I'm not giving him a pass, but I'm saying name a time in history where we did something as Black people collectively by ourselves without white people and move forward.
Yeah, listen. I don't want nobody to listen to me talk about Rush Limbaugh and get it misconstrued. We need white people. Oh, go ahead.
I just
Sorry.
want to say that you said name a time when Black people did something collectively. They built Tuskegee University for us and by us, and they did it collectively, and it's still here. I'm a graduate, so that's one time.
Who built
We
this school?
created
Who built
the
that school?
biggest genre of
Black Wall
music
Street.
in the world
Who
less
built
than
that
50
school?
years ago. Come on.
Hold on.
The city of Tuskegee, the slaves, they built the buildings.
Who founded the school?
Who founded the school? Lewis Adams. Lewis Adams, Booker T. Washington. Booker T. Washington was the principal of the school.
Okay.
So what is your point?
My point is, y'all need to name me something that Black people did collectively. I'm not talking about a college.
We built this country collectively for free.
But that is
for free.
something.
That's
Well, you
something
did
we
say
did
name
collectively.
We built the country because we built this country collectively for free.
Thank you.
Without white people.
Yeah, on the tunnel.
They
with them whipping us on our back.
Okay, why? So what I'm asking you is, why are you not a slave?
Good question. Yeah, aren't you a slave?
Did somebody sign a
Hold on.
emancipation
Wait a minute.
proclamation?
Wait a minute.
Did somebody pull up
Wait a minute.
on
Again.
June 19th?
Again,
what
1865?
Was
wait a
it black
minute.
folks who put up and said, "Hey, y'all free, y'all can go.
We don't.
Y'all, go ahead, move out, y'all free."
Marcus,
No,
I don't misunderstand what I'm saying. We need white people. I've already said that several times.
That's all I want everybody to know.
But I said that several times. Well, we can't do without them. This is it's a system. It's a system that they control. We cannot do nothing without them. I think what we do is we victimize. We are the victims in this system, and we say, "Well, you guys are the victims. How do you fix it?" You're asking the victim to fix the system that they designed.
And so, like I'm saying, what you just said, Ricky, you can't create this. You can't create a talking point of systemic racism, and then all of a sudden
we didn't create.
Y'all gotta fix it. Y'all fix it. You gotta be specific on what the problem is.
No, I'm not saying that.
No, we're not gonna hold.
Listen to what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying. I'm not saying that. I'm saying to you that we need white people. We can't do nothing without. This is an American. It's not a Black America or white. This is the United States of America. We need the social change. Social change is hard, no matter what it is. Whether it's gay rights, whether it's civil rights, it is a hard thing, and we need everybody collectively to move in progress. We can't do nothing without. It's hard to get anything done with one group of people and one set of ideas. We got to reach around. We got to come across the aisle. We got to get stuff changed together. And so what I'm saying is, though, all I'm saying is that this system that has been an oppressive system, whether it's intentional or unintentional, is still an oppressive system. And then what we do as Black people, we blame ourselves for being in this system that we have no control over at all.
Well, this is the thing. Like Tam said, this is what I agree with everything you said, and I agree that we can push forward. We need white people, but like Tam said, we have it's a certain amount of white people who are already gonna be on our side. And historically, that is proven. But when you have somebody from the other aisle come and try to have a conversation with you, that is not the time to be like, nah, you got to say this or we not talking. That's the time. If that person said, "What can I do?" I already know that Rush Limbaugh don't know what systematic racism is. He don't know what it is. But
Again,
if we can sit down,
you can't fix a problem.
If we can sit down over a course of meetings and try to break this down and explain to him and come together and write a legislation with our people to present with him, it'll be more people to
No
move
one
forward.
is not able. No one in this world is susceptible to change unless you have some mental disorder which will allow you to, like a sociopath or a chronic narcissist. Okay, so there are people who are able to change. And I'm not saying Rush Limbaugh is not one of those people. I'm saying that if you truly want to change, if Rush Limbaugh, and I think that was Holder, did you say if you truly want to change, the truth will come out. He will show you that. He would definitely show you that. I'm not basing that off of one conversation of him acknowledging the killing of one person that everybody know that was wrong.
I think, well, you saying that, but everybody don't necessarily believe it. He probably got followers.
I'm telling you what I believe.
But he got followers that don't necessarily believe that. But for him to speak about it, it speaks volumes for just because of who's in his audience, for one. For two, nobody's saying to go and make a point to pat Rush Limbaugh, anybody else on their back. I'm saying it's dangerous for us to make a point to throw them aside when they do come out. Nobody said, all right, let's go find all the white folks that's saying great stuff about us and give them a cookie. Nobody said that. But for you to be on a platform and say, we don't need white.
I never said that. I never said that.
Yeah, you did. Last other week, you said, I don't care if white
I
people.
said we need white people.
I don't care if white
I've
people
always said that.
ABCD. That's very dangerous to say.
That's not.
I want to say something. Really quick,
why are we choosing what white people we want to work with?
Yeah.
Right.
We're not.
White people.
I don't think we're choosing it at all.
We're not choosing at all what white people work
with.
Go ahead.
Limbaugh, that's all good, but to me, it's still going to take change, like voting, like what Tam and Marcus have this organization.
That's right.
People to vote. That's the real.
That's the number one thing.
So
number one thing.
Rush, it's good that he said what he said and he was on this platform, but we still in ourselves have to go and make the change.
And that ain't enough, though. No, it is not. Listen,
it's something though, and I'm not saying we cannot work with white people, but we still have to do it ourselves.
We have no choice. We got to work with them. We have to work with them.
If he influenced 5% of his audience to think just a little bit different for a second, to have a little
that'd be
bit
great. That'd be great.
Let me finish, dude. If he influenced just 5% of them to maybe vote different, that helps.
But why would they be encouraged to vote different?
Yeah.
I'm all good for that.
Just knowing something that's obvious. How would they be encouraged to vote different?
You think he gonna vote differently?
You're a black woman. He got a lot of white men that come from a whole different generation. You don't get to decide how their mentality is and what they live through.
Stop. Let's not pretend that Rush Limbaugh is not going to vote for Donald Trump in November, and not 95% of all his people going to vote. 98. I would say 99% of all the people going to vote for Donald Trump.
That's not true. That's inaccurate. I don't believe that.
I think it would be weird if that
why would you? Why
was incorrect?
Listen, I promise you, most people know listen to Rush Limbaugh ain't listening to him because they just want to hear the other side. Most people listen to him because they agree with it.
Okay, that's not true.
But now they have to hear the other side.
That's right. We have to hear the other side. We got to work with the other side.
I listen to CNN and every single morning. I don't agree with 30% of what they talk about.
I would say the issue is really not Rush. It's the issue of people not understanding what systemic racism is in America. That's the issue.
What is it? You got to tell them. You got to tell people what it is. You keep saying that term.
Of course. Would you like to know what it is? Because I wrote it down for you. I wrote it down for you. Yeah. After Tim chime in, I would definitely chime in. I'll definitely tell you exactly what it is. I wrote it down.
You got to tell. Tam, you want to jump in now?
I
think she's frozen.
Essentially, that nobody's asking anyone. Am I froze?
You good now?
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I was just saying that nobody's asking anyone to give him a pat on the back or attaboy. You know, nobody's asking for any of that.
That sounds like
we just, as a people, we have to not squander opportunities when we have them, right? If we get the opportunity to sit in front of somebody with influence, we can't squander it, regardless of who it is, because we don't know who's listening from an audience standpoint. It might be one person that can make the change, that can spark the change for us as a whole. So those opportunities, we got to hold on to it. And we can't get in there acting whatever, fill in the blank. We can't get in there acting like that. We got to get in there. We got to know what we want.
I agree.
We got to know what we're talking about. We got to be educated. And we got to delegate. We need to be the one to delegate. So this is your position. This is what you can do for me. The same way they use us, we got to be able to do that to them. This is what you can do for me. This is what we need. These are what our demands are. This is what we want. How can you support that cause?
That goes to the list, though. Lamar talked about that. He don't want us
for doing the right thing.
Nope. I'm talking about your checklist of semantics. They gotta. I need to come to you and kneel down at your toes and say, Ricky,
hold on.
I believe in it's systemic racism. Yes.
That's Lamar. That's how you fix the problem, though.
You have to admit there is that's not how you fix the problem per se. You have to admit that there is a problem in order to want to solve the problem. Yes,
education is a part of systemic racism.
And also, I want to say this. I would hope someone that comes into a situation like Rush Limbaugh did, and maybe his audience, and they were shunned away, I would hope that if they had a real desire to learn something or change, that they wouldn't go from that conversation and be like, oh, you know what? They didn't treat me right. I'm done with wanting to make this change. Because if you do that, you didn't want the change anyway. So I'm not concerned about how he was treated in this one interview. The one time in his life, he said something that wasn't completely racist. If this exiles him or changes his mindset and he wants to go back to who he was, he never wanted to change anyway.
Well, he already said himself, I'm going to you, Hunter, but he already said himself that it's not going to stop him. He wants to continue trying to have the conversation.
Well, that's good.
Go ahead, Hunter. I'm sorry.
Okay, so I'm about to bring, I might be quoting it wrong. I ain't been in church in a couple of years, but don't judge me. But the Bible, if I'm quoting it wrong, let me know. The Bible states, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. Now, I might be wrong. I might be paraphrasing it. But I'm going to go off that because the problem is we want people to know everything that's wrong with us, but we don't want to educate them. And we expect white people to know our history. But honestly, growing up in school, we didn't even learn our history. I didn't even know about Hidden Figures until I saw the movie. They never talked about that. It's a lot of things we don't know. And we need to educate ourselves first, and then we need to educate them. So, yeah, we don't need them to kiss our behind. We need to educate them so they can know what we know. And then they can make a decision. Once they're educated, see, the thing with George Floyd right now is people saw it. Why? Because COVID had everything at a freeze. So they couldn't hear it. They couldn't ignore it. You had to physically see it. And people seeing it made them think in their mind, oh, wow, this is wrong. Even though we knew it was wrong, they didn't know until that point when you have to actually sit there and watch it happen, what's going on. So if we don't want to educate them, we can't expect them to just be on our side if we don't even want to give them a chance to teach them things that some black people don't know half the things.
Well, I got a question for everybody on the panel. Do everybody know what?
A lot of stuff.
Do everybody know what systemic racism is? That's a question for everybody. Do everybody know what that encompasses? What it is?
We know what it is, but the thing about
what is it?
But
what is it?
It's a system put in place to keep people down. But the thing is, you cannot say that and expect that somebody's going to be like, all right, I got my marching orders. I'm about to fight systemic racism. No, you got to be specific on
this
what
is the thing, though.
You can't tell somebody to go get it all at once.
It affects.
That's a cop out.
That's true.
You just tell somebody.
I'm not saying that.
Systemic racism. That's a cop out because you're not being specific on what you want. I don't know what you want. If you tell me that, I don't know. Okay, what? What about it? What about
these things are discussed at Lincoln Academia every single day about systemic racism in each issue, whether it's healthcare, whether it's the racial wealth gap, whether it's housing, whether it's education. It affects everything. It affects all of it.
What about it? Be specific.
The fact that housing affects education because it affects the taxes.
What about housing?
The fact that I just told you.
No, what
housing?
About
housing in the black communities.
What's the problem with housing that puts black folks at a disparity that white folks or anybody can help come up with a plan on how to fix it? What's the problem?
First of all, black people do not get loans at the rate that white people do for housing. So that's
also. We can't
they get discriminated against.
We can't even go there until you say, not you specifically, Lamar, but someone who's wanting to go in and make a change says, oh, there is an injustice problem. There is a race problem. You have to. Otherwise, you can't. If you don't do that and then someone goes into systematic racism and telling you about redlining and this, that, and the other, why would they believe that?
So let's talk about redlining. Let's talk about redlining.
If you told me that statistics say that more black women die in the hospital when they give birth, I'm going to say, whoa, that's a problem. I see that stat. But if you told me we got systemic racism when it comes to healthcare, what the hell that mean? Okay, what specifically?
But you're still missing the point. You're still missing the point to where there's no acknowledgement that there is an issue, period. You can't live on this planet. You can't live in America and really believe that there's still not a problem in regards to race.
And maybe this will help.
You don't have to be specific.
and I'm gonna be specific. So you have redlining, which Chris brought up, which redlining before redlining became illegal, it was rampant to the point where it was the banks would take these issues and not give Black people loans. But before it had to be made illegal, there had to be an acknowledgement of the issue to be brought forth. And so it's an issue that redlining literally created the ghettos. It literally did. And there has been multiple studies on why we got ghettos. It's because of redlining.
You're totally missing what I'm saying. I agree with what you're saying. Okay, if that's the case, if your angle when talking to somebody that's not from our world, you tell them that, then that makes sense. If you tell Rush that, great. But if you just tell somebody it's systemic racism, and I need you to say,
I'm not saying that. You're not listening to what are we saying. If we want to talk about housing,
they may not agree that everything in that whole package of systemic racism is systemic racism. They may not agree. All Black folks don't agree with every single thing that's in that package. So you need to be specific with specific issues. With you being
okay, fine. Let's just talk about housing. Let's talk about housing. If you want to talk to Rush Limbaugh, that's just about housing. And this is another thing. This happens in our government all the time. There are just issues that people just take care of. There are people who just take care of education. There are people who just take care of healthcare. There are people who just take care of housing developments and all that stuff. I hear you. That's right. But the thing is, the issue is there are racial biases in every last one of those arenas that affect Black people, brown people from moving up. And white people literally own 700% more wealth than Black people in America. How is that possible?
On that, I think we're all on the same page. You educate me on. We're all on the same page on. My thing is our method is not fair in how we our message. All that.
It's not fair.
Why does it need to be fair?
We are the victims of the issue.
Do you feel like you have power over other people or something? To where you don't feel like you have to be. You think white folks gotta do something for you because we were slaves? They don't.
Hold on. It's not about. For instance, women that getting raped, women that's been sexually harassed, the Me Too movement that's going on, right? Do you think men that are in men boys club have to stop harassing women? That argument is right. The women are the victims in that system, right? Would you agree? Okay, yeah. So it is encompassed on the people who are doing that to the victims to change, not the victims themselves. And so we got to change.
Specific. If women tell us, if the thing is they rape, that's specific. If women just said, "Oh, there's a big old thing where women aren't treated fair," okay, and men are not gonna move because what's that mean? What's specific? And they are good at giving those specifics. And when they give us those specifics, we can work off of those. You're giving a broad statement that nobody knows what to do with.
How is sexual harassment a broad statement?
No, I think it's systematic racism. But all you have to do is, it's a simple Google search, you know.
It is. It literally is. You can literally study systematic racism in less than an hour.
That method that we've been doing for 100 years, and that ain't got us nowhere. I continue that, and in 5-10 years, let's get back on here and let's hear y'all talk about how we. I
guess what I don't understand is what's the opposition to telling people about themselves. White people are going to be uncomfortable in this time. They're just going to be uncomfortable.
They can be uncomfortable, but it's not coming upon you to try to force that uncomfortability as a way of feeling good about yourself.
It's not about feeling good about ourselves. It's about changing stuff.
It's actually scary because you can be uncomfortable and decide to stop out of discomfort.
Well, listen, the civil rights movement was based on making white people change things. That's what it was based on.
Well, hold on. If you're gonna go there, though,
let's make
Martin Luther King, he came to the table with a lot of people.
You still have to change stuff. I'm not saying that you don't come to the table. I'm saying it was about changing the system. You had to change the system to have, just like I said, civil rights. You had to change the system, and so you have to make people. You have to force their hand to make changes. That's the same thing what's going on right now with the Black Lives Matter movement. They are forcing people to make changes that should have been changed a long time ago.
I got slave mentality.
That's not slave mentality.
Slave master. Y'all try to turn it around. Now y'all want to be slave masters
No.
and make them suffer, and make them jump through hoops to help. You know?
No.
To me, it just sounds like broken communication.
Right.
And when you have broken communication, nothing is done.
Tim, we can't hear you. You broke up.
So I don't care what kind of relationship it is. Y'all can hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Can you hear me
We
now?
can.
Yeah.
Y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying that it just sounds like there's broken communication. And when you have broken communication, nothing gets done. So I think there's a proper way to not necessarily call Rush Limbaugh an ally, but a proper way to communicate where we can move forward. I agree with you, Rick, that there is systematic oppression, and I believe that stems from other things. And when you pull back all of those layers, we can have a conversation. We have to essentially pull the onion back. It's not comfortable, but we need to get uncomfortable and have those conversations regardless if we like the person or not. And listening to the audio again, it's almost like we listen to two different audios, because for one, I heard him say not all of this is going to be addressed in one conversation.
That's true.
I also heard that this could be racial bias, and it could be what was the other thing that he said? Power trip. So
we know that's
it
not
could have
true.
been one or two things. He doesn't know, but in watching, it could have been one or two. So I listened.
Well, we
to
know
all
it's
of that,
not. We
and
know
I'm
it's
saying
racial.
that he just gets a pat on the back, but
I agree, Tim.
It could
I
also
agree.
be one of two things. It could be racial, and it could also be power trip, right?
It could be both.
Thing that he said, but you went in to listen to the
It
audio
could be
with
both.
biases.
Or it is both.
Have preconceived biases. You're treating them the same way that they treat us. Anytime that they see one African American mess up, that's how they look at you. And you listen to this audio with that same bias, regardless of what he could have said. Because I believe, honestly, just listening to this conversation, I believe that even if he would have said everything that you wanted him to say, you would have said, I don't believe.
Yep.
You know why I don't believe it? He's done nothing.
Well, you don't know. You don't.
All basically.
You have not been listening to what I've been saying. That's not
nothing
true.
in this conversation that says, all right, Rush Limbaugh came to the table. Rush Limbaugh came to the table. This was an opportunity for us to communicate this. We're dealing with not only police brutality, but systematic oppression. That was a great opportunity for Charlamagne to have that conversation. Was it had? No, because he went in with conceived biases. So
this is the thing.
In the same boat that we were in before we even had an opportunity to spread the message of change and what we want to progress us.
Well, that's
because we don't know how to communicate.
I think a lot of us agree that the Breakfast
we
Club.
lose these opportunities. And you know what happened when we lose opportunities? Nobody wants to sit down.
Well, I think we agree that the Breakfast Club did drop the ball in this interview. I completely agree. So there was fault on both sides because there are more things they could have said. They could have been more open for sure. They did come in with the preconceived notion of Rush Limbaugh, which would have been hard for anyone who knows his history not to do. They did drop the ball. Rush Limbaugh dropped the ball as well because he can't admit things that are obvious. That's the thing. You have to come into something to seek to understand, then be understood. And that's where he needs to go. And from what y'all have said, I guess he wants to continue on with this, which I think is a good thing. But I'm not about to give him accolades yet. He hasn't really proved much yet.
And that's all I said. I think that nobody's listening to what I said. Everyone, unless you are have mental illness, is susceptible to change. It can change. And I would definitely welcome that change. I said that multiple times. We need white people. We need everybody. I also said that as well. And so are we talking at the same time? I don't.
Yeah.
I think we are. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah. I think our signal's getting real bad. We're going for here 5 more minutes.
So all I'm saying is,
what you saying, Tam?
Go ahead, Tam. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, what I was saying is, I agree that people can change. Everyone can change. Everyone has the ability to change, unless you suffer from some mental illness that prevents you from not changing. And I said that Rush Limbaugh has that ability to change. Unless he's a narcissist or sociopath, he can change. I'm not saying that he can't. But y'all don't know me, but if somebody want to work for the cause, I'm all for that, no matter who it is. There are people in the Democratic Party that have said horrendous things about Black people and have put in horrendous things into law, but have now made a change and want to rectify those situations. There are white people in the Democratic Party and the Republican Party who have also said, I want to make a change and change these things. I'm for all of that. I'm from across the aisle. I love politics. You got to cross the aisle to get stuff done. In most cases, even though now politics are changing, you just got to have the majority on filibuster. And so, yeah, I just think that the issue of I really want people to understand that we have an issue that affects Black people, which is the system, which is housing, which affects education, which education then turn into criminal justice, with criminal justice to turn into not being able to get jobs and creating an issue and the cycle just continues to repeat. And I think that's not what we're talking more about, because that's what, and it's not even about Russ at this point. It's about letting everyone know that these issues are greatly affecting our community, no matter if you're Black or brown.
We already know this, though.
But then we got to come up with a solution. That's right. Russ Limbaugh don't, because he said he doesn't. He don't believe in it. So
I thought you were talking about Black folks.
Well, some Black people don't believe in it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Which is crazy.
Anybody else got any final statements before we go?
No. I'll just say to all the Christian viewers out there, if you are a Christian viewer, look at this like Saul and Paul, same person, right?
Man.
One was out there crucifying Christians, doing all types of bad, but look how he changed. And look at the impact that he did. He was blind twice, but God made a change in him, and the impact affected so many people that he was able to save. I don't know how many people. I think it was more than all the disciples. So I just want to say that we can't just be out here throwing people away. I just don't think that we have the ability where we are today in this movement that we are today. We can't be squandering those opportunities. And if you're just talking but you're not moving, just stop talking. Just completely stop talking, because your voice really isn't doing anything. If you're not out here in action, making the change for you, your community, your family, doesn't matter who it is, you're just wasting air and opportunities. So just use the resources that we have. That's the only real way that we're gonna make some change.
Right on. That's the perfect time to cue the outro. That was good. We'll end on that. Thank y'all for coming, for tuning in. I appreciate it. I'm gonna give me another aspirin.
All hell Russ Limbaugh.
Last time, ain't talking about this no more. All right.